Hello everyone, welcome to the Austrian Perl Workshop. This is Jonathan Worthington.
Hello.
Hi. Jonathan, you gave a you gave a talk about the concurrency programming in Perl 6.
Yes.
Can you give us some little bit more insight and tell us, is this going to be the killer feature for Perl 6?
Well, it could be a killer feature. It certainly is an area that's of increasing importance in a lot of programming languages, and a lot of programmers these days need to deal with these things. The world has sort of changed around us, so we're in a situation where we not only have multiple cores that we want to try and take advantage of in the hardware. That's one side of it. That's the parallel side of it. But we also have the side of it in that we don't really build systems that sit on one machine anymore.
Yeah.
Most of the things we build go out there and interact with systems in the outside world. You're doing networks then, doing cloud things then, and when you go ask a system somewhere else in the world for something, when will it answer? Well, you don't know. And if there's all kinds of complications that come about with this. So a really common example, you go to say Google, and you start typing something in, and it suggests something, and you type a few more characters, and it updates that with the next set of suggestions.
Yeah.
So if you're programming in such a world, you go and you watch the user type, and they pause a little bit. So you say this is a good time to send a request off. So already we're programming with time as well now, which is already getting some fun. So you send a request off to the server, and while that's happening, the user types a few more characters. And then you say, oh, well, they've typed some more. So you send another request off. And somehow, the first request gets to a server and it's a little bit loaded. The second one hits one, that responds very quickly. So now my second query is responded to before my first one. And if you're not careful, you can end up with a bug where you then get the answer from the first one and overwrite the latest information with old information. And you get all of these sorts of difficult challenges when you start doing any kind of more asynchronous programming. So a lot of languages are trying to address these sorts of problems because they're genuinely hard. A thing we've often talked about in Perl 6 is people say it's quite a big language. And we were talking about this actually with a few people here, and Larry made the point, and I agree with it, that anything that you don't actually deal with in the language level that is hard, you're pushing on to the programmer to deal with. And if it's the sort of problem where there's sort of typically agreed right ways to do it, but it's still tricky, it can be a good idea to bring those into the language. And I think that is why we're seeing languages and their immediate libraries around them increasingly saying, well, we had better provide some good story on concurrency, on asynchrony, on parallelism, rather than just give people the most basic of building blocks. And it's not just Perl 6 that's going in this direction. I think we're doing some really nice stuff there. But if you look at the Microsoft stack with C#, they have a very nice task and async await features where you can write synchronous looking code that is automatically transformed into async. That can be nice. Go has taken concurrency as one of its big things and added channels. So it's very much a thing languages are doing. And we're Perl, so of course we know there's more than one way to do it.
Yes.
But there has to be, because there's a lot of different problems. But yeah, we're taking it very seriously, and I think if you look at where a lot of other languages are, with this, the languages that have typically been seen as having threads that work well and you can spawn lots of them, have tended to be things like Java, like C#. Of course, there's languages like language that built to do this completely. But in terms of mainstream languages, they haven't tended to be the dynamic ones. And I think in that sense, Perl 6 really can bring something quite big to the table.
Awesome. Thank you very much for this.
Okay, you're welcome.